Hey there, Duelists! My name is Dustin. Welcome back to our casual guide to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. So today we're going to be taking a look at the playing field, or kind of your game mat, and what that will look like. So I have with me a very old, kind of out-of-date version of a standard kind of playing field for Yu-Gi-Oh! That kind of shows you exactly what all is going to be included in it. I say it's out of date, namely just because the extra deck spot is specifically only called your fusion deck. But this is where your extra deck would go. But anyways, this is the type of game mat that you could have to kind of keep your cards safe from just like being on a sticky table or something. And it also kind of tells you where you can place your cards and how many cards you can place. So we've got our 5 monster card spots in our monster cards or our monster zone that only your monster cards can be summoned to. Then we also have our spell and trap card zone beneath. So you can only have 5 spell and trap card zones. And we've got a spot for our deck. We've got a spot for our discarded cards. All your cards that have been like your monster cards that are destroyed in battle, or cards that you can use end up in the graveyard. Then we've got a spot for our field spells that our field spells can go. What this type of field or old game mat is kind of missing is the extra monster zone, which typically is just a little square above these 2 spots on your main monster zone. You and your opponent only get 1 slot in the extra monster zone, so you can choose either being the left or the right one, and you can only use that one unless your opponent isn't using it. Then you can summon to that other one again if you're not using this one already. But it would typically exist above these 2 spots. That way, if you have a link monster that's 3 arrows, you can collect, you have 3 link spots that it can open up to. So what this one is missing is also a banishment spot. The banishment zone is essentially where cards that have kind of been removed from play, they've been banished, would go. You don't necessarily need one of those. It's kind of handy to have. That way you kind of can pull them back into the game if you have cards that have effects that call back from the banishment. It also doesn't have a pendulum scale. I've seen some game mats that do have special spots for a pendulum scale if you want to set one of those. Otherwise, you have to just take up a spot in your spell and trap card zone for your pendulum monster. So this is an example of an old game mat and a game mat that you can get through Etsy or a retailer. But you can also get just a regular game mat, kind of like this. So it doesn't have the labeled spots that the old game mat or the game mat that I just showed you did. So it's just a kind of a blank, kind of soft silicone fiber mat that you lay down on a table to safely lay down your cards on, that you can kind of then just use as your playing field. And so you can then just have a spot for your deck kind of over here. You can have your graveyard up here, a banishment spot. You can have all of your spell and trap cards along one side, your monster cards. You can have a spot for your extra deck or your extra monsters. The extra monster spot zone that link monsters like to go to. You have your field spells, you have your extra deck over here. This is kind of just an example of just like a generic game mat that you could get to set your cards on that doesn't have the type of fields labeled out for you, that you can just then kind of just have to remember that you only have 5 field spells, or only have 5 spell and trap card spots. So my 5 are going to be down here, or I only have 5 monster spots, they're just going to be up here. So this is kind of one where you have to kind of be more specific about where you're placing it, while the other one has set spots that you can't be on. But those are your game mats in your playing field, and that's kind of what those look like for a duel, and what you'll be playing on to kind of keep your cards safe if you're not using sleeves, if your cards don't have sleeves, which is just kind of another way of kind of keeping your cards nice and safe and protected. But until then, Duelists, thank you all so much for watching. If no one has told you in a while, I am proud of you and you are loved. Keep on rocking, rock stars. Love ya. Mwah. Catch you next time.